Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm David Lam, filling in for Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. California lawmakers voted on a bill that aims to decriminalize pregnancy loss after birth. But critics say the current wording could legalize infanticide. Who likes getting robocalls? The answer definitely isn't the state's attorney general. He's joining the FCC to investigate and punish people making robocalls to state residents. California is desperate for teachers to alleviate the situation, especially after firing those who didn't agree to jab mandates. About 3/4 of LA's newly hired teachers are uncredentialed. California state lawmakers are proposing a bill that decriminalizes pregnancy loss. But opponents of the bill say the new laws could legalize infanticide. NTD's Cynthia Kai gives us a closer look at the bill.
The State Assembly Judiciary Committee passed a proposed bill to bar criminal prosecution into the suspicious death of an unborn or newborn. Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks introduced Assembly Bill 2223 in February.
AB 2223 is intended to protect against the criminalization of pregnancy outcomes, and people should not be subject to prosecution for any tragic situation that may happen during their pregnancy.
Wicks said during the April 5th hearing that the bill decriminalizes pregnancy loss.
Prosecutors in this state have charged people with homicide offenses for pregnancy loss. Two examples are the cases of Chelsea Becker and Adora Perez, two California women who were recently prosecuted and imprisoned for their stillbirths.
Becker and Perez both experienced stillbirths after consuming methamphetamine during their pregnancies. Samantha Lee, the attorney for Chelsea Becker, expressed support for the bill at the hearing. Meanwhile, hundreds of opponents appeared in person or called into the committee to express their concerns. According to AB 2223, a mother or healthcare provider's actions or omissions cannot be held responsible for miscarriage, stillbirth, or abortion, or perinatal death of a baby. But perinatal is not precisely defined in the bill. Dean Broyles, attorney and president of the National Center for Law and Policy, said, depending on how the term perinatal is interpreted by the courts, this bill legalizes the infanticide of children several weeks after their birth, and possibly as late as their first birthday. Existing law requires a county coroner to investigate the death of an unborn or newborn baby after 20 weeks into pregnancy, resulting from suspected self-induced or criminal abortion. AB 2223 would make it so that the coroner would no longer be required to investigate such deaths. The coroner's statement would be prohibited from being used on a death certificate for prosecution in such cases. In the end, lawmakers voted to advance the bill. AB 2223 was referred to the Assembly Health Committee for another hearing at a later date.
Law enforcement in Orange County say they made the largest drug bust in 16 years. The district attorney's office filed felony charges against the two suspects. NTD's Cynthia Kai has the details on how big the seizure was.
The Orange County District Attorney's Office filed felony charges on Wednesday against two Buena Park drug dealers. Buena Park police officers pulled over a minivan leaving a house on March 17th. In the minivan, police found 821 pounds of meth, 189.7 pounds of cocaine, and 20.5 pounds of fentanyl pills. A lethal dose of fentanyl is as little as 2 milligrams. Authorities say 20.5 pounds is enough to kill 4.7 million people. District Attorney Spitzer said, with fentanyl in an estimated 40% of street drugs, it's not a matter of if, but when someone you know and love dies from fentanyl. We have to continue to do everything we can to combat this deadly drug epidemic and save lives. Edgar Alfonso Lamas, 36, and Carlos Regoza Paredes, 53, have been charged with multiple felony counts of possession, transportation, and sale of a controlled substance. Both men face a maximum sentence of 37 years and 4 months if convicted on all charges. They have pleaded not guilty and remain in custody in lieu of a $5 million bail. A preliminary hearing is set for June 7th at the North Justice Center in Fullerton in Department N3.
Robocalls. They do whatever they can to get your business or money. From impersonating the IRS to telling you that you've won a prize, there's little you won't hear from these automated messages. Now, higher-ups in the state are getting fed up with the calls too. Here's more on what may be happening to these annoying phone calls.
This is a notification call from our Department of Tax Debt and Financial.
Do you ever get frustrated from getting calls like this one? Well, the Attorney General is, and he's launching an investigation into robocalls. The state's Attorney General, Rob Bonta, and the Federal Communications Commission, also known as the FCC, announced a new partnership on robocall investigations on Thursday. The project involves information sharing and cooperation. That way, investigators can look into spoofing and scam campaigns. Bonta said, robocalls aren't just frustrating, they can lead to serious financial harm, and too often, it's our most vulnerable who pay the price. He says this partnership will protect Californians from robocall scams. FCC Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel said, "We share a goal to protect consumers, and with agreements like this, we can also share the tools needed to achieve it." During investigations, both the California Attorney General's Office and the FCC's Enforcement Bureau will take steps to build a record against possible perpetrators. According to the announcement, California is among more than 20 states that are working with the FCC for this type of investigation. In February this year, the FCC proposed a $45 million fine against a company for making pre-recorded calls without consumer consent. The FCC says if you answer the phone and are asked to hit a button to stop getting the calls, you should just hang up. Scammers often use this trick to identify potential targets. David Lamb, NTD News, California. The Los Angeles Unified School District hired over 2,000 new teachers this school year. But nearly 3/4 of the teachers hired were not fully credentialed. The new report comes amid a teacher shortage in the district.
A new quarterly report shows that only 26% of new teachers hired in Los Angeles Unified School District are fully credentialed.
We have hired 2,336 teachers. Of those, 956 have gone to semi high and highest, but 607 fully credentialed teachers are taking advantage of those stipends.
That means around 1,700 teachers are without full credentials. During the March 29th Board of Education meeting, school officials said some public school districts, including LAUSD, hire teachers without credentials through an internship program. To teach in California, individuals must go through a 2-tier credential process. They first earn a preliminary teaching credential in either a single subject or multiple subjects. They then need a clear credential after all requirements are met. In LAUSD, the 607 newly hired teachers with clear credentials are eligible to receive a $5,000 signing bonus. They will be assigned to the district's 300 highest need schools, including those with high rates of chronic absenteeism, foster and homeless youth, and suspension rates. The remaining 74% of LAUSD's new hires who are uncredentialed can earn their credentials through LAUSD's Intern Credentialing and Added Authorization Program. These numbers come amid reports that LAUSD has been facing a teacher shortage since the beginning of this school year. The district reported in December 2021 that it fired 496 staff members for non-compliance with the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. On April 5th of this year, the LAUSD Board of Education approved firing another 59 teachers for non-compliance with the mandate. The March 29th report did not specify how many teacher vacancies still remain.
A crowd gathered outside of Disney's headquarters in Los Angeles to protest a recently passed Florida law regarding gender identity. They held signs and chanted "Boycott Disney." NTD's Eileen Ang has more.
Go woke, go broke was a central message from protesters who gathered outside the Walt Disney Company's Burbank headquarters on Wednesday. About 150 people attended the rally in opposition to the company's stance against the recently passed Florida law that prohibits schools from teaching their youngest students about sexual orientation and gender identity. According to Rob McCoy, the former mayor of Thousand Oaks and pastor at Godspeak Calvary Chapel, it's absolutely a necessary event. He said many people were raised on Disney films, but now the iconic family entertainment company has been taken over by a woke agenda. Florida passed a parental rights law in March that prohibits public school teachers from teaching lessons on sexual orientation or gender identity, or any instruction that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate with children in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Disney took a stance against the legislation after company employees staged a walkout protest against the bill at its Florida resort. According to a Disney spokesperson, Florida's HB 1557, also known as the Don't Say Gay bill, should never have been passed and should never have been signed into law. The company was standing up for the rights and safety of LGBTQ members. The group plans to continue protesting Disney and any elected official who supports extending the company's copyright license for its Mickey Mouse mascot character. In 2 years, the copyright will expire and enter into public domain.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. The People's Convoy is set to arrive in Los Angeles this weekend. We'll look at where and when they're meeting, and most importantly, what big names are going to be speaking at the event. A new food donation law is proving difficult for small cities and towns due to high gas prices. Sellers and food banks are stuck figuring out who is going to foot the bill. And a San Francisco-based company has found a new way to harvest caviar, most importantly, without killing the fish. We'll look at what new innovative techniques are being used. That and more on California Today. The People's Convoy is expected to reach Los Angeles on April 10th. Just in time for the Defeat the Mandates rally at Grand Park. The convoy, protesting government use of power, will meet up with medical speakers like Dr. Robert Malone.
Brian Braze, a trucker and co-organizer of the People's Convoy, told the Epoch Times he expects to reach Phoenix, Arizona on April 6th. He said there are about 500 vehicles made up of trucks, cars, campers, and motorcycles. Organizers announced last week that they were headed to California to protest proposed legislation related to COVID-19 mandates. The convoy has listed 10 bills that it opposes on its website, including the defeated Assembly Bill 1993. The bill would have required proof of COVID-19 vaccinations for all employees and independent contractors to work in California. Braze said, 1993 being thrown out was definitely a win. We're happy to see that, but we've still got 9 others that we need to fight. After the Los Angeles rally, organizers are hopeful they will be able to meet with lawmakers when they reach Sacramento.
Climbing fuel costs has made it challenging for local food banks and small towns to decide who pays for food deliveries. The difficulties come with a new California law mandating grocery stores to donate leftover food.
Trash bags filled with baguettes, brioche buns, bagels, and ciabatta rolls filled an SUV outside a Panera Bread in Chico, California. It's bound for a nearby community shelter to feed up to 140 homeless guests.
And it's all wholesome, good produce. Some people think that the food bank just gets discarded food, and that's not the case at all.
These small food deliveries happen across the nation every day. But in California, they're now required by law, which took effect in January. It requires national retailers like Amazon and Kroger to donate unsold food and compost anything inedible. But climbing fuel costs and uncertainty over who pays for food recovery has challenged local food banks and small towns who are tasked with implementing the law.
Our main goal here is to distribute as much food as the area needs. That always takes more money. And the more we have to spend on fuel, the less food we can buy. It's pretty cut and dry.
The agency developed an app known as 530 Food Rescue that connects restaurants and grocery stores to volunteers who can collect donations and drop them off at food aid organizations. One developer said it's a win-win situation for both sides.
As far as getting good food to people who are facing food insecurity, while keeping great food out of the landfill where it exacerbates climate change.
While other states restrict food going into landfills, California is the first to require food be donated for human consumption.
Starting mid-next year, a passport or other approved documents will be required to board flights in the U.S. The DMV is urging locals to get their real ID cards. California's DMV is urging locals to get a real ID. In an announcement on Wednesday, California's Department of Motor Vehicles said there are over 12.9 million Californians with the new government-issued card as of April 1st. That's over 200,000 more than the previous month. The DMV states, starting on May 3rd, 2023, the Department of Homeland Security will require a valid passport or other federally approved documents like a real ID driver's license or identification card to board flights within the United States. Such identification will also be required to access secure federal facilities and military bases. The DMV director said it's now easier to get the ID. Customers can apply online, upload their documents, get verification, and then make an appointment to visit the DMV. A San Francisco-based company has found other ways to make caviar without killing the fish. It's more sustainable and the fish can live longer.
The Caviar Company, headquartered in San Francisco, is committed to sourcing sustainable caviar. The delicacy comes from sturgeon, an ancient fish species that has been around for over 200 million years. Caviar is long associated with Russia, but the company is letting people know other options are available.
Beforehand, if we said, oh, our caviar is not Russian, we would almost get this wall of people disinterest or not like, oh, well, I don't need it then because it's not authentic or it's not Russian caviar, but it's still sturgeon. You know, that's what's important is that there are all these different species of sturgeon that are from all around the northern hemisphere, more than just the Caspian Sea.
In the past, the fish were killed during the egg extraction process. The fish were often tossed back into the water to die. But after the wild sturgeon population plummeted due to overfishing, producing caviar from wild sturgeon was banned in the 2000s. This meant a business opportunity for Californian entrepreneurs. In the 2000s, the company helped create a new sustainable caviar industry using a farmed sturgeon species that's native to northern parts of the state.
What's so cool about where we are is that the species of sturgeon that comes from California is literally in our backyard. Like it's native to the San Francisco Bay. They would go up the Sacramento Valley to spawn, and so it is a local product.
So the California caviar industry is taking the opportunity to educate consumers about where the delicacy now comes from and how it's produced in the hopes of encouraging them to give their roe a go.
At the time I got into the caviar business in 2004, there were 6 farms around the world raising sturgeon and only 2 producing caviar. Thus, California being the birthplace for farmed caviar on the planet.
The company says it can massage the eggs out of the fish, which allows the sturgeon to continue living and produce more eggs.
So you need really big hands, a lot of patience, and a lot of tank space for that to happen. But it's so humane and so beautiful to be able to see after 10 to 15 years raising these sturgeon, and you have to sacrifice each and every one to get the eggs, that I can put them back in the tanks and they can live 2 more years until their next cycle and get more eggs from them.
So caviar cravings can now be fed with local sustainable fish eggs, and the sturgeon can live to swim another day.
Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, and this is the California Today Sports Roundup. Baseball is back. Our first roundup of last night's MLB action is today. Los Angeles superstar Shohei Ohtani made history, but it was Framber Valdez who stole the show while leading Houston over the Angels in Anaheim, California. Ohtani, the defending American League MVP, became the first player in Major League history to make his team's first pitch of the season and also lead off. Ohtani made 80 pitches in 4 2/3 innings, allowing a 2-out RBI single to Alex Bregman in the 3rd inning. He struck out 9, the most by an Angel starter on opening day since Jared Wover struck out 10 in 2012. Valdez threw 6 2/3 scoreless innings while allowing just 2 hits. He struck out 6 and walked none. Bregman and Yordan Alvarez hit back-to-back homers to begin the 8th against Ryan Tepera. David Fletcher's RBI triple in the bottom of the inning accounted for the Angels' only run of the game. Astros 3, Angels 1. Seth Beer smacked a 3-run homer with no outs in the bottom of the 9th inning to give Arizona a dramatic victory over San Diego in Phoenix. The Diamondbacks had just 2 hits entering the inning and needed only 1 during the 4-run uprising. 2 walks, a hit by pitch, and a run-scoring wild pitch preceded Beer's second career homer, a 386-foot blast off Greg Stammen. San Diego reliever Robert Suarez made his Major League debut to start the 9th and walked Christian Walker and Pavine Smith, then plunked Carson Kelly with a pitch before being lifted. Stammen's first pitch to Beer was wild, allowing Walker to score. His next pitch went soaring over the right field wall. Joe Mantiply pitched a scoreless top of the 9th for the win. Diamondbacks 4, Padres 2. No Anthony Davis, no LeBron James, and no Stephen Curry in last night's matchup that mattered for the playoff seeding for the Warriors, but really meant nothing to the Los Angeles Lakers. Klay Thompson continued a hot stretch with a team-high 33 points, and host Golden State rallied late in the 3rd quarter to defeat superstar-depleted Los Angeles in San Francisco. Jordan Poole saw a 17-game run of 20-point performances come to an end, but he did post 19 and 11 assists for the Warriors, who increased their lead over the Dallas Mavericks to a full game with 2 remaining in the battle for the number 3 seed in the West. Playing without LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony, the Lakers got a career-high 40 points from Talen Horton-Tucker in a surprisingly competitive effort in the wake of a playoff elimination just 2 nights earlier. The Lakers lost their 8th straight game. Warriors 128, Lakers 112. As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
And that's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for a show, or you just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb. Have a wonderful evening.